Hello guys, welcome to a new video here in JS Education. My name is Carlos Santana and this is the video number 33 for the course Developing a Headless CMS with TypeScript and GraphQL. So let's start. So the first thing we need to do is to update our packages on the backend using ncu-u, and remember that you should copy the version you are seeing on my terminal to avoid any problem, and then you install those packages. And now you need to go to backend, source, data, and you need to open the file fields. And we are going to add the model name here, since we are going to add that to the to our models. Also, you need to open data index. And now, after the Boolean declaration, here on the declarations array, you need to add this declaration for reference. And then you need to go to system fields. And we also going to implement the model name on each field that we are going to insert, just like that. Now you need to go to GraphQL resolvers and then field, and on the create field mutation we need to convert this to be asynchronous, and then basically now it's going to return a promise with the I field. And so this is the code that we are going to use here. So now in the input of the create field, the default value, we are going to change that value to call target model, and the model ID is going to be the parent model. So this is because when we create a field with the new type reference, we are going to save the ID of the target model on the default value and the ID of the parent model on the model ID. And then we get the type from the input. And here we are going to validate if the type is reference. We need to verify first if we has the reference correctly. And we do that looking into our reference model that we will create later on this video. And we are going to find out by the parent model and the target model. If we don't have a reference, then we create a reference. So we insert a new reference with that parent model and the target model. And then the field is going to be created like before, just with an await, and then we just return the new field. So this is to create a new reference between one model and the other. So in the next video, when we do the front-end part, you will understand a little bit more how it's going to work. Okay, so now you need to go to resolvers value, and then here we are going to import get entries from fogg-utils, and then you need to create, wait, let me copy this part here. You need to create this new query called get entries by model ID. So basically on this one, we are going to receive a model ID, and then in here we save all the promises as an array. First, we look for the reference, looking for the parent model using the model ID that we are going to pass that. And then if we have any reference, if the length is higher than 0, then we need to loop on each reference using a for each, and then we are going to create a promise that is going to find on the field model where the model ID is equals to reference that target model. So this is going to bring all the fields related to that model, and also we are going to include the values that we have. Then we get the fields, we extract the model name, and then passing the fields to get entries is going to retrieve the entries like we did for the table, right? Like if you remember when we render our table, basically we are getting the entries, which is gonna be, once we have all the values, we organize them by entries, by the entry ID. So basically this entries is an array of all the values together, and we resolve this promise passing the model ID as reference that target model, the model name, and the entries. And each promise we push it to all entries promises, and basically at the end we resolve all of them using promise.all and then all entries promises, and we are going to save this on entries, and we are going to return an entries value, but we need to convert this value into a JSON stringify. Why is that? So the problem is that how can I explain this? So the references basically each for any component, right? So you can, for example, create a model for authors, and then a model for post, and then you can create a reference on the post model to link an author. The problem is like that's like a simple reference or a simple link we have between two models, but once we start creating more, we don't really know, or we cannot really create like specific types on GraphQL to identify all of them. So that's why we need to do this like dynamically. So that's why we are saving entries as a JSON. So basically the array of entries for any relationship or any reference we have is gonna be saved as JSON. And then you need to go now to types field GraphQL, and in here after the model ID you need to pass the model name, and also on the after this, let me check model ID. Right here. So on the type field, we need to pass model ID, and also on the create field input on line 42. And then you need to go to values, and here we are going to declare our type entries, which is gonna be entries as type of JSON. And basically you need to declare the query get entries by model ID. You receive a model ID, and then you return an entries. If you see, it's not an array of entries because entries internally on the JSON already has array, so we just return entries. Now you need to go to interfaces index, and you have to pass the reference model to iModels. And now go to interfaces types. Let me close all these files. And then on the type field, we need to pass after identifier the order, the file value, is media, and then this is system, is primary key, model ID, and model name. After that, you need to go to models field, and we are going to add as a new field in this model the model name. This is because we need to know on each field quickly which model name is related to that field. We already have the model ID here, doing the associate, but it's like quicker if we get the model name directly. Now we need to create a new model called reference.ts, which is a new table, and is going to be this one, reference, and then it's going to have the ID, the parent model, and the target model. And basically in here we are going to save all the relationships we are going to have between models. And finally, if you go to models index, you need to import the reference model that we just created, like this. So that's it. We cannot really test this code yet because we need the front end part, but I would like to break this video into parts because otherwise it's gonna be like very long. So this is the backend part for the reference. So the next video is gonna be the front end part, and we are going to put together all the pieces and it's going to make sense. So that's it for this video. Thank you for your attention. Remember that if you like those videos, please share those videos with your friends and subscribe to this new channel. And also, if you have any question, remember you can join our Slack community. The link is in the description. So thank you for your time and see you in the next video. Bye.